All right, we're here, ladies and
Hey,
gentlemen.
hey, hey, we are here. So I just talked to Bill, and he's coming on in just a second.
He's in here. Let's get him.
There he is. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Hi, Bill.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, we are so excited to see you.
well, now I can see
Yes.
you.
I want you to see what do you mind if I do it, Gwen?
No, you. I was fixing to do it. So yes.
Okay. Hold on. Here it is. This is what
Okay.
I did for you. You ready?
You
That was
didn't
really
even
me
know.
singing. That was
You
me
didn't even
singing.
know that was me. Oh, that was me.
Me singing.
I worked on my falsetto all night for that.
Well, so nice to meet you. Oh my
Good
goodness,
to
the
meet
things
you.
you've done. The things you've done, man.
The
Okay,
faces I've seen.
when I lived in France for a while, there was only one VHS, and this tells you how long ago it was. One VHS tape that had one movie on it that was in English. Okay. My French was doing great. I mean, I didn't have a choice. I started dreaming in French. And so, it is what it is. But I had every now and then I would I got to have my English. You know what I'm saying? So I would put on Elvira. And I love her. Her slapstick humor's hilarious. The way that she does the boob thing with the tassel.
I never noticed. Does she have
How in
boobs?
the heck? Yeah, she does that in Elvira,
Oh,
Mistress of the Dark. And but there's a lot of people that was in that movie that have made a very successful career. It's a fun movie. It's a lot of action. So what part did you play in that?
well, you have the advantage in remembering it well to be able to remember me having my two most significant injuries in a movie. There's a scene where we're trying to help Elvira escape jail. They're going to burn her at the stake. And so
Yes.
me and these other kids were all cutting a hole in the roof of the police station in order to free her. Well, we're not real good at this. And so we cut the hole around ourselves. And so we all fall through the ceiling. Well, as we land, the stunt
The
was
children were cutting the hole in order to get to her to yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
well, they put a floor made out of plywood and paper cups. This is an old stunt trick where when you land, the clips all collapse, giving you a softer landing. Unless
Okay.
you only weigh about 120 pounds and you don't weigh enough to collapse the cups. So I
Oh,
went
no.
through, I landed really hard. My knees came shot up and got me in the face. And
Oh
it's in the
crap.
film. And
Yeah, it
my
is.
nose goes over this way. And I remember going, oh my gosh, where is my nose? I know it was here someplace. And I remember saying I didn't want anybody to know I got hurt because you don't like to, tell people that you got hurt. So I said, oh, I got some sand in my eyes. I'll be right back. And I went to the restroom and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to stop the bleeding before I go back. And so, yeah, that was the first of a couple of different nose breaks. And there's another scene. We're trying to get a peek at Elvira, and she's
Of
changed her
course.
clothes. So we're trying to,
So he
and
was
it's
one of the
raining.
kids, guys. The story plot. Let me just real quick, Bill. The
Go
story
for it.
plot is that she was running a like B quality horror movie hostess on television type thing, and the TV studio has been bought out by a sleazeball, and he thought that he could have his way with Elvira for her to stay on. She stomps his toe with her big stiletto heels and quits. but then she didn't have a job and she didn't know what to do. But she gets a letter mysteriously out of nowhere. They come to her dressing room and she has inherited something in Salem. At Salem. I think it's Salem. Anyway, somewhere. And it was from a great aunt she didn't know she even had. She said, well, I didn't know I had a good aunt, much less a great one. See, I could probably recite the whole show, right? But anyway, so she's going to get her inheritance, and it turns out she was basically a witch. And she finds a spell book, and she's trying to fix up the house in order to sell it so she could get back on her show. And all the boys in the town were so excited to see her. Well, my Lord, that they start helping her. One of the kids, their dad owns the hardware store and stuff. The house is all different colors. And now they're trying to rescue her because she gets even with some of the women that are jealous. And it's in a magical way. So now she's in prison for being a witch. And they're going to burn her at the stake. And Bill fell through and busted himself in the nose with his knee. And and when I showed Matt that video, they were like, oh my God. Matt said, somebody got hurt doing that stunt. And it was you. Oh, I'm so sorry.
The only one that got hurt. And in the scene where we're trying to get through the window,
they're climbing up to get a shot. They've got a Polaroid camera and they're trying to see her assets.
And I'm supposed to fall. Yeah. And her boobs, that matter.
Yes.
So they try to grab me and he misses me and I drop. And this is while we're filming.
Oh my God, you were that kid.
Yeah, so I fall and I land on my ribs on this windowsill. So I climb back up and they said, okay, please don't drop me again. That really hurt. He goes for it. He misses me again.
Oh my God.
With my ribs again. This time it's broken. So I climb back up and Elvira looks at me, Cassandra Peterson. She says, did you fall? And I said, yeah. And she says, did you land on the pads? I said, no, I narrowly missed them twice. And she said, this isn't right. You're getting hurt, aren't you? And I said, well, that's kind of part of the game. And she said, no. And she called everybody in and she said, we got to find a way to keep them from dropping him. And so they eventually ran a cable through the jacket of the guy that was supposed to catch me into a harness that I'm wearing, like a climbing harness. So he really can't drop me. He's attached to me. And so I drop back and then he just pulls me and I grab onto the windowsill. But if it wasn't for Elvira, who knows where that rib would be now? It still kind of floats around a little bit. But the one show that the stunts aren't that drastic, but that's kind of what happens sometimes. You do one of these shows and it looks all pretty simple, but you take a pretty good beating.
Now, Bill, I got to tell you, this is Blaine. One of your movies, Children of the Stairs, that you did.
Oh, People on the Stairs. Yeah.
I got the People on the Stairs. I got actually kicked out of the movie theater because it made me laugh. It was that funny to me, and every time I watch it, I back up laughing. But I was the kind of kid that was, pay for a Disney ticket and go see the horror movie when I was little.
Oh, Blaine, how did I?
Yeah,
I should have known that.
But yeah, that movie, every time it comes on like TBS or something, I've got to watch it because it just makes me laugh every time I see it.
And
oh my God.
Yeah. There is a remake in the works by Jordan Peele, who did Nope and a couple other good scary movies. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, that looks good. I'll have to find that one.
Pretty edgy. I like his work. So
I
think it'll be a little darker now.
See, I love the darker movies. I can sit there and watch them. I guess because we ghost hunt and nothing scares me ghost wise. So scary movies to me are like a release. It's like I get to go sit down and I laugh. Oh my God. And I cheer for the bad guys every film. I cheered for Jason.
Oh my God, I do too. Oh my God, I do too. I was like, get him.
It's so fun.
I'm sick. Wes Craven. Oh my God, I've got to hear this.
I asked him one time. I was working as his web developer, actually. I worked with him on a few films, and then I worked as his web developer. And I said, don't these people freak you out? And he said two things. Number one, when you watch these movies, remember that not everybody has a real simple, friendly, fun life. And people have a tendency to relate to the survival of that final girl because it represents to them a portion of their life. And if she can make it, maybe I can make it.
Yeah.
But the other thing he said
That's true. That's true.
The other thing he said that I thought was really telling was he said, if you were to go into a horror film and then you were also to walk into a comedy and you weren't watching the screen and you were just watching audience reactions, you would have a hard time telling whether it was the comedy they were watching or the horror because it's such a release. The same thing that makes you laugh also is the same sort of emotional reaction you have to being scared out of your wits. Yeah. Because you see it, you go, oh, Jesus. And then afterward, you go, oh, my God, that was crazy. And you have the same laugh because it's that release of emotional energy where you just went through something. And maybe it was embarrassing or maybe it was horrifying, but the crowd reaction is nearly identical. Yeah, it is. And I think he's right about that because, you know, sometimes that scare is, you know, we all go through stuff in our life, but to watch a movie, you get to go through the scariest possible thing without actually being in peril yourself.
Exactly.
So
I've always wanted to do that.
I know.
You get to enjoy the peril without the actual danger.
I told these guys, I said, I'd love to be in a horror movie and get brutally killed in a horror movie. So cool.
You sound like Daniel Radcliffe now because he wanted to be in Sharknado and he said, I'll do it as long as I'm the one that gets killed. I was like, oh my gosh, that's great.
I'm like, you don't even have to give me credit like Sawed Up Guy #1 or something like that.
You know, I laughed at how it ends. You know,
you did? Christopher, see? People
are the funnest part to get killed.
Yeah, I choose
all right.
for Michael. Hey,
but I'll tell you, Blaine,
your head up a little bit.
The movie.
Yeah, Christopher. Yes, thank you, darling.
I laughed at Michael Myers died because he stumbled into a wood chipper, and all the kids would say, "Joy to the world, Michael Myers is dead." Off his head, I laughed and laughed.
You're so funny, Christopher.
But I'll tell you, the thing that the movie you want to be in, Blaine, is you want to be in a zombie movie. And I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Zombies don't get killed. They're already dead.
They're already dead.
So when you get to work, I got to work on Return of the Living Dead Part 2. And
I didn't know that.
Yes, I was the devil for the kid that was chasing after the other little kid. And I get run over with a meat truck. I get stabbed in the mouth with a screwdriver. I get electrocuted. I get thrown off a catwalk.
Yeah.
And it was great. I was so excited because I thought they don't, you know, normally you do a character, you get killed and then you're done. This time I got to get killed. Well, not killed. I get to just get all this mayhem over and over.
Oh,
and
dude, that would be so cool. I tell you where I got the sick idea from when I was in the military. They would do these stupid exercises that would last 4 or 5 days. And we hated them. We hated them like with a passion because they were so boring. And we found out if you die, you get to be, you know, they dress you up and stuff and they cart you off. You get to go sit in a room with air conditioning and TV. So I was like, kill me first day. I'll stay here.
Yeah, if you love me, kill me now.
I know. Yeah. I know. Just go ahead and just have me a battle wound to the head and just cart my happy ass off and put me
Oh no, I want to fight. I want to, I want to be the one, rah! Okay, I'm a bad guy too.
Yeah, I didn't know you were in Home Alone.
Yeah, do it, but
Home Alone, yeah, I was
okay.
In Home Alone 2, there was there was Cedric the bellman, and then there was Tim Curry, who was the
yes
manager. Well, I was the double for the little guy, Rob Schneider. So just like any of those films, you just know it's going to be fun because it's all mayhem, and it's like Bugs Bunny. You know, people
I love it.
Do things that would smack you, would break your spine, but then you just get up and walk away because it's Home Alone. So yeah, that was another fun one. Got to go to New York and got to. In fact, actually, there was a lot of movie stars in town, including amongst them number 45, President Donald Trump. Got to watch me do my stunt.
Right on.
Oh my gosh. That's right. You can do it. You can do it. Remember the guy?
I thought funniest part is when one of the bandits got the
Uh,
car shot out of a car battery charger.
Yeah, that was my grandmother watched, and my mother still watches Home Alone 2 over and over. I mean, it's just so
Thank God for
funny.
her.
It
I need
is.
those
Yes.
residuals. I need those residuals. Tell her to keep watching.
Well, she loves
Anytime
it.
the best things to work on as an actor are Christmas movies and Halloween movies.
Yes,
They
because
show
they're
the
going to come
same
every year.
Yes.
Uh-oh, he's hung up.
every year.
There we are.
Endless rotation. And
Well,
if you ever see Predators on
yeah.
I was thinking about that.
that's TBS. I'm on
Let me
every
read
day.
the bio real quick, guys, so that you guys can really know who Bill is, okay? His impressive career in the film industry as a seasoned actor and stunt performer has been legendary. He had the pleasure of working with many big names such as Bill Paxton, Tim Curry, Corey Haim, and Corey Feldman. I've got questions about that. Also, Perry is proud of his endless opportunities to travel the country and the world during his career. He attributes most of his career success to hard work, endless preparation, and even a great deal of luck throughout his career. Yes, I'm sure. William Perry has acted as a performed stunts in many popular films, including 1990's Predator 2. So you got to wear that suit, didn't you?
No, I'm so little. I was one of the guys he killed in the subway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In which he played the subway gang leader. Okay. In 1987, he was in Lost Boys. That is like a cult favorite for me.
Love it. Love it.
Lost Boys and Elvira. That's it for me. That formative for me. I mean, I embody somewhere between Elvira and Morticia somewhere. Anyway, those are my spirit animals.
Yes.
Anyway, let me get back to it. The People Under the Stairs is also, and he also had a great part in the famous 1992 hit Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Yes, George, you are so right. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, A Nightmare on Elm Street. I cut myself off there. So there's got to be more. Oh, well, I've cut it off. I apologize.
That movie, the Freddy Krueger 3, it had a great soundtrack. Dawkins played the title song on it. It was so good. I still listen to that song, Dream Warriors.
Oh, yes.
And then the video,
So nice.
Goes, who the hell were these guys?
Oh, no. We
just lost Bill. He'll be back.
He'll be back. Well,
Yeah,
I'll tell
George.
everybody while we're waiting. There he comes. No, wait a minute. I'll tell everybody while we're waiting. Nightmare on Elm Street, my whole entire childhood that I watched it, I nightmared about it.
Did you? That was your nightmare movie.
Oh,
that was my nightmare movie.
Glenn, you don't get real with it? It was actually based on a real person.
Yeah, I know. That's why it scared the mess out of me.
He's coming back. There he is.
There he is.
Whoop. There we go. Ta-da!
Yay, he's back.
So everybody's gushing now over Lost Boys,
I
and
remember that one.
And people want to hear about Tim Curry. I want to hear about the Corey twins. So
I'll tell you, Tim Curry. I grew up watching, the Rocky Horror Picture Show every Saturday
yes,
night at Rialto Theater in Pasadena, every weekend for most of my adolescent life. And I get to the set, and there's Tim Curry, and I don't get starstruck. I've worked with George Burns, I've worked with Michael Jackson. You can't rattle me. I looked over, and I thought I was going to pee myself. I was like, oh my God, that's Tim Curry. And so I thought, I got to be cool, walk over, introduce yourself, be confident. Don't lose it. Don't go totally fangirl. I'm Mr. Curry, and I completely babbled like an idiot. And I said to him, I've been such a fan for such a long time. All my friends back in Los Angeles are just going to be blown away that I got to meet you. And he goes, tell everybody I said hi.
I love it.
Oh my God, I can totally tell everyone I said hi.
I might as well have just crapped myself for the embarrassment of I gave him nothing to say, nothing to do. And so I just sulked away like the little broken-hearted girl I was at the time. It was just like, but that's freaking Tim Curry. It doesn't get any cooler than that. the best working.
Yes.
Everything that he did was amazing. And
Yes.
so I have
There
to
for
say,
a while, he was gold. Everything he did, everybody loved. I hate that he's been
yeah,
sick, but he's
yeah.
recovering better. Have
Yeah,
you
I
followed?
think he had a stroke. I saw him at a convention not long ago, and he does, he still does conventions, and he doesn't sign in person because it takes him quite a while, but he's very charming, always very good to the fans. He's such a sweet guy. And I remember working with him, just being so excited just to even be in the same room. And,
Yeah.
when you do movies, you got to try to keep your professional, poop together in those moments. But there are just some people that are just so legendary that you just can't help it, and he was one of them. I remember I can just picture looking across the room and just going, oh my Lord, that's Tim Curry. I had no idea he was on the show until I walked up to him
Well,
and just, oh my God, it was everything. So
well,
cool.
Bill,
So
my
what
claim.
part? Oh, I'm sorry, Blaine. I'm like blah. I'm sorry.
They do the same thing.
Tim Curry, blah.
Yeah, when I was still in the military, I was stationed out at Norton Air Force Station, California, and a producer came in our office one day. Said, "I need some extras for a movie." Like, I'll do it. So
Yeah.
I was an extra on the movie Backdraft. You can see me the very first scene of the movie. I'm the fireman on the left, but you never see my face. And I actually had a speaking line that I said, "Here's your report, sir," and it was given it to Robert De Niro. Well, that got cut, but it was funny. I didn't really get starstruck. It was like, hey, just a person like me, and I introduced myself to Kurt Russell. Was like my favorite on the cast because
I'm sure. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
He was a Tombstone. Come on.
There's something very special, I think, about Kurt Russell because
even De Niro sat down and had lunch with us, and Kurt came by, and he was with Goldie, and Goldie came by and said hi to us, and said thank you for your service. We appreciate you. And that was my movie starring debut, and I did 2 TV shows for the Mark and Brian show. I don't know if you remember the Mark.
Oh yeah, Mark and Brian. I was actually I have a great interview with Wes Craven that he did with Mark and Brian.
Right on. Yeah, I've known Mark since he was here in Alabama before him and Brian got together in Birmingham and went to LA.
Yeah.
And he called me one day, said, "Do you want to be an extra in the show?" I said, "Yeah, what do you want me to do?" He says, "You're onlooker number 4." I'm like, okay.
Onlooker.
Yeah, they had a green screen behind us. We were supposed to be looking up at some building that somebody was about to jump off of.
Oh my gosh. You need to be a stunt man. Blaine, you missed your calling.
I know.
Blaine is so big, like broad-shouldered, tall man, big guy. He would be perfect as Michael Myers. He's just very, that guy.
A lot of Michael Myers and a lot of Jasons, and they're all these monstrously big dudes.
Tony Moran, who played the original Michael, is a friend of mine, and he's huge. Him and Kane Hodder actually do ghost hunts together called Hollywood Paranormal.
Woo-hoo.
And I forget the other third guy that's with them too. And I'm friends with both of them guys because I've had both on other shows I've had. And a lot of people didn't know that Tony Moran was Aaron Moran's big brother who played in Happy Days.
Yeah. And he was
really? Oh my goodness.
Well, what was cool is my daughter still lives over I call it Garbage Grove, but Garden Grove. California.
That's what you're welcome to come to the convention, by the way. Don't listen to him. You're welcome. You come over to.
No. This is what my daughter calls it, so I've been calling it that. But when I went to visit her, my granddaughter, I had called Tony.
I gotta mute myself. Hold on.
I called Tony and asked if he wanted to have lunch with us, and he said, "Yeah." He said, "You mind if I bring Kane Hodder?" I'm like, "I don't care." And I didn't realize at the time, that was Jason.
Okay, so we've got someone watching. George DaCosta, hello, darling. I love you. And I'm so jelly. He has a poster that's been signed by Tim Curry and one from Rocky Horror. It was that he did. So I'm so jelly. But George DaCosta, investigate with Michael Myers and Jason. Sign me up. Do you by chance do ghost investigation, Bill?
I have never. It's one of the reasons I am so stoked to be coming to Ozark, because I don't know anything about that stuff, and I.
Okay, so you're
I
adopted.
had a fortune
Yeah.
teller one time
Yeah.
do a reading on me that scared the poop out of me. And so when I was
Get a
talking to the
reading.
organizers of
Bill,
the
you get
show
a
coming
reading
up,
from me and Lee while you're
Probably.
there too.
I said,
Yeah.
take me
Reading from
along,
us.
scare me to death.
Oh,
You know,
Mhm.
it's going to be fun. I'm so looking forward to it. I think I'm staying an extra day just to do it too.
oh, right on,
That's
man.
going to be great.
Awesome.
Well, you've been adopted by a paranormal team here. And, I want to ask you now about some of the other things you've done. What did you do on Lost Boys?
On the Lost Boys, I doubled the Corys here and there. I also did another show with them called License to Drive.
I remember
So
that
the
movie.
Yeah.
reason, all the work that I got when I was doing stunts back then was because I'm a very little guy. I'm 5'6", probably weighed 120 pounds at the time, arms like a 13-year-old girl. And so a lot of the stunt guys that were doing stunts back then were ex-gymnasts, like the guys you're seeing in the Olympics right now.
Yeah.
Big,
Right.
thick arms, big, wide shoulders. This was never my problem. So they would call me up and they'd say, "Look, we got this kid. Or a girl. I doubled some girls too." And they said, "We've got this, person that got very skinny little arms." I worked on the Star Trek TV series because the kid on the show had a 30-inch chest. I mean, most people have a 30-inch, leg.
Waist.
Yeah.
Oh,
waist.
yeah.
Yeah. So his chest was only 30 inches around. So they called me up and said, "Well, can you double the kid?" And so I would go out and do whatever it was they had. And most of the time, the stunts weren't that challenging. On Lost Boys, there's a scene where the vampires are attacking the house, and
Yes.
one of them is going to explode through the fireplace. And so they wanted
The
us to
blonde
do.
guy had an arrow go through him and it pinned him to the wall and poof, right?
Yes.
I
Some are going to
remember that
explode,
movie.
some are going to implode, but they're all going to take you with them. That's the way it works. And so they would bring us in there. So since these, and it's not as that scary a thing to have an explosion go off, but if something happened, back in the 80s, there was a big movie called The Twilight Zone, and a couple of kids were killed, and an actor was killed doing a stunt.
Oh my God.
They didn't need to be there.
What did Vic Morrow?
Yeah, Vic Morrow and two little Vietnamese kids. And they really didn't need to be there. The stunt did not require those actors, but the helicopter fell and cut them in half.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was horrible. And about that time, they said, "This is ridiculous. We don't need to put children in harm's way just to make
That's
a movie."
right.
And so
That
they
is
said,
right.
Let's bring in a stuntman who, if he gets cut in half, they go, well, he had it coming. So they brought me in for a lot of TV shows and series and things, even if the stunts weren't that extravagant, because even if they just got a cut on their face, well, now you got to wait till it heals before you can film them again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was just cheaper, faster, easier, safer to bring in somebody like me who looked like I was about 13 up until the time I was about 30. And so they would bring me in and I'd do skateboarding things. I'd do slips and falls, soccer accidents,
Oh my
explosions,
goodness.
get run over by a car, get thrown from a car, attacked by a dog, lit on fire, whatever it was. And they could know that, number one, I knew what I was doing. I wasn't going to get hurt. And in the event that something really did go a little screwy, the actor's going to be fine and they can work on me.
Continue
Because when you're
the
making a
show.
film back in the 80s, it was about $10,000 an hour to make a movie. So if they have to stop filming even for a moment, it's costing big money. So it was cheaper to bring me in, pay me $1,000 for the whole day, do whatever I got to do, and then protect the production and the actor. Who, some of these kids, Will Wheaton from Star Trek couldn't do a cartwheel. He was just not a terribly athletic guy at the time. So they said, "Hey, we need to do a cartwheel." Yeah.
So let me get this straight. This is the guy right here that you were the double for.
No, I was Corey Haynes double.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
I was the part of the explosion to happen to me. He was the one exploding.
Okay, yes.
Back when I was young and beautiful.
Young and beautiful. You're still beautiful, my darling.
I didn't lose my hair. I
Still.
know where it is. It's on my pillow right over there.
And there you go.
Oh, who cares? You don't need no
Right.
hair.
Solar panels for
I don't have any.
And both of you look great.
And you look fabulous, Christopher. Don't let anybody tell you different.
So, I've been seeing some. Yes, my darling. I've been seeing. I have been seeing some videos of Corey Feldman that have been kind of,
Cringy?
challenging. Bless his heart.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that's the best guitar solo the kid can do. I'm sorry, but that's just horrible.
He's not even playing.
It's
I'm
like
a guitar player. I've been playing
it's gonna
since I
make
was
you
a
cringe,
kid.
doesn't it?
Just
Here's
doing this
it,
does not mean guitar playing. It's a recording.
yeah.
I saw
And
it
he's
the other
going,
day and
wow, while he was chewing or saying watermelon the whole time.
It was so bad.
There's
That's
what
not
that's
good.
those are the boys we're talking about, and Bill played the one that has the tan jacket on. So that's so cool. That's so cool,
And we
Bill.
also did License to Drive in the big opening sequence where Corey has to leap from he's having a nightmare and he leaps through the bus window to escape the maniac bus driver to jump into the Ferrari with his dream girl. And so I actually had to go through a real window of a real school bus and land on a vehicle that was following us and not get run over. That's the important safety tip. Don't go under the wheels.
Yeah, I don't think you want to do that.
So you're kind of a Jackie Chan kind of thing there. I
Yeah,
see
that
what
was
you're
actually
doing.
the first stunt. I really thought, hey, I could buy it doing this. If I do something wrong, like just going through the window, you get glass stuck in you pretty good. And so that happens, and then I have to get upside down and land on my back on this follow vehicle. But if you hit your feet, which can happen as you're going through a window, that could slow you down to where now you land in front of the vehicle instead of on top of it.
Yeah.
So that was one of those ones where I looked at my buddy and I'm like, what do I do here? And he's like, you're just going to have to trust yourself that you're not going to hit your feet, that you're going to go through nice and smooth, that you're going to cover up your face so they can't tell that it's not Corey Haim, and don't die.
Yeah.
So was it like sugar glass? It couldn't have been.
Glass. Well, it's what they call resin glass now.
Okay. Okay.
It's thick. It's you can't see through it very well, and it's just as sharp as regular glass, but it's much more brittle. So I probably won't show on camera, but there's a scar right here as I went through the window. A big chunk of it stuck in my arm. Ow. And I went, oh God. I jump up, and my buddy looks at me, and it's my best friend of many years, who is also Ghostface in the Scream series.
Oh,
and
wow.
He says, you are really bleeding. And I was like, oh no, I'm getting this on my costume. And he's like, that's not the problem. And so he pulls out this big shard of glass, grabs a bunch of crazy glue, and glues me together. And then they said, okay, now we're going again.
I use super glue a lot. I'm constantly hurting myself. Let's just be honest.
Not
Will. I didn't do these things because I wasn't clumsy. I did it because in spite of my being clumsy.
Yeah.
But so they patched me up, and I have to go again. One of the things I'm actually going to be talking about when I do the convention is what it takes actually to be a stunt person. Because people always think, oh, I'm fearless. I can do anything. It's like, that is the worst possible thing you could tell me. Fearless people do all sorts of stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A great quote somebody said to me the other day is, being brave means knowing it's going to hurt and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
He says, however, the same thing applies to being stupid. I'm going to do it. I know it's going to hurt. Well, that's dumb. It's like, yeah, but it's also brave.
So we're going to make up some T-shirts that say, that's a terrible idea. When do we start?
Exactly. That's a terrible idea.
All right.
I'll drive.
Let's go. When are we leaving? So, Fred.
Hey, here, hold this. Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer. I'll be right back. Hold my tooth. I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah, hang on to that. Anybody got the super glue? I'm gushing blood. Oh, we'll just stick that back in and super glue it. It'll be fine.
I kept super glue in me.
Scars heal, or bruises heal, and chicks dig scars.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is true.
When you tell somebody that you're an actor, they go, "Really? What restaurant?" When you tell them you're a stuntman, they go, "Oh, Mr. Perry," you know. And all of a sudden, you're considered to be your reputation just skyrockets, even though you haven't really done anything. So I took advantage.
Now,
No,
you're
you've
just
accomplished a
very,
lot.
yeah, you're.
Yeah, you've done good, man. Like all the movies you've been in, I've watched every one of them. They've been good.
I've been very, very
I want to
fortunate.
hear about Predator.
Yes,
Let's talk about Predator.
Predator was my first speaking role. And I'll tell you my favorite story from Predator. I got to work with Bill Paxton. And Bill
Yeah.
was renowned for being the world's nicest person. And
Oh,
I knew
really?
who he was. And I was very nervous because it was my first time really saying lines. And I was in plenty of plays and I was in plenty of movies, but I hadn't spoken on camera. And this was a super big budget movie. And I'm sitting in a chair that says Bill. So I sit down in it because my name's Bill. And he walks up and he goes, "Hey, your name Bill?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Is it really?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, you're in my chair." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. And he goes, "No, no, no, no." And he looks at me and I'm dressed as a gang member. Now, if you look at me, you can tell I'm street.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No.
You straight up street.
I'm this preppy little kid. And he says, "What are you doing today?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. I'm just part of the gang." And he said, "Hey, did you ever see Terminator?" And of course, we all saw Terminator, one of the best movies in the whole flipping world. And that was one of his first roles in the very beginning. He's a gang member.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, I didn't know
Yep.
that.
yeah, Arnold
Okay.
walks up to him. Arnold's naked. And he says, "Give me your clothes." And they laugh
Oh,
and say,
yeah.
yeah. So he said, that was my first role that really meant something. He said, "Today is that day for you. This is the day that your career blossoms. You're going to see yourself 80 feet across in a movie theater very, very soon. And it's going to be you, man. And it's so this day never happens again. This is your first day on a big budget film where you get to actually act. So relax, have the best day of your life because you never get this day again."
Yeah, right on.
And it was the kindest, most encouraging thing anybody had ever said to me. And he didn't have to do that.
No, he
He was
didn't.
just a cool, gentle, kind human being. And I had the best week of my life. Sorry, honey, we got married on not long after. Still, it was a better day. The day my son was born, right up there. The day my daughter was born, a close third. But that day was amazing because he just just freed me up to just really do my best work and enjoy it for everything I could.
Right on.
And I will remember that moment and that kindness forever
That's
because
wonderful.
that's one of those things where somebody that's way up the food chain, reached down and pulled up a nervous kid who obviously, was rattled by the depth of that moment. And instead, it became the best time ever. And
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, if I ever get the chance to pull somebody up like that, that's going to be my job. I
Yep.
owe somebody big because what a kindness. And there's very, I don't tell any bad stories of people who were mean to me or awful or gross or whatever. There wasn't that much of it anyway, but it's because the thing that I remember most are those moments where somebody like Tim Curry was super nice, George Burns.
Yeah, George Burns.
Oh
That
my
had to
God,
be incredible. What was he like at first approach,
just a
Because you can tell a
legend.
lot.
Just a legend. Yeah, he was sitting down, and they said, "You're going to be sitting next to Mr. Burns doing this thing." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, how you doing, young man?" And "Can you hand me my cigar?" And of course, it was right in front of him. He just wanted to engage me with him, and we had a day-long conversation while we were filming this particular scene. And he was telling these funny stories from vaudeville years,
Oh my
from
God.
the days of
Oh,
radio. The days of radio, and most of you probably aren't old enough. Christopher's probably old enough to remember radio. But sorry, Christopher. We were just, he was just
Hey, I'm
the
older than
nicest
Chris and Lee.
gentleman.
So.
No, he was asking about me. He was taking interest in the people around him, knowing that he's a legend and totally aware of it, but remembering that the way you get to be a legend is being good to the people around you.
Oh yeah.
And I just remember after that, the end of that day, saying, "I can." And I was just an extra that day. They put me into another scene where I actually did a stunt eventually, but in that moment, it was like, I can die now. I've done
Yeah.
it. I've done everything. I have met a true legend, not just in film or television or radio or vaudeville, in all of those things, you know. And to see that he was just the most humble, friendly guy was so encouraging, because it means you don't have to be an a-hole just because you're famous. In
Yeah.
fact, you can choose not to be because you're famous. I'm not challenging him. I'm not taking anything away from him.
No, you're not a
You know,
threat.
and the best people, the best actors that I met were like that, just available, generous, wanting you to do your best work. Jennifer Garner, I worked on Alias for a show, and she came in and just said, "I just want you to know that if anything's going wrong today, please come to me and let me know. That I kind of run this show, and I just want you to do your best work today, and I want you to have the best time, because that's how people do their best work."
Right on.
And she's so incredibly beautiful that I don't think I probably drooled a little. I might have wet myself
Yeah,
just
she's
a little,
gorgeous. She really
and
is.
couldn't have been kinder. And that's the kind of stuff. So when people say, you know, Hollywood people are so fake and so phony, it's like, yeah, there's some of them out there, but not those people.
Yeah.
I never met anybody that I said, "Oh, I could never work with that person ever again."
Yeah.
I worked with Christian Bale, Christian freaking Batman, you know,
Yeah.
on a show, and he couldn't have been kinder and nicer. Was a pal, you know, was like an instant buddy, just because that's who he is.
Yeah.
That's so
You know,
cool. I wondered about him. I'm so happy to hear that.
hear
So,
bad things, but he
yeah,
is a very serious actor. And the one thing I saw where he was really hard on somebody, that guy was standing just behind the camera, making faces, being a jerk. And Christopher's the kind of guy that will prepare for a particular scene for a month, because
Yeah.
this is the one and only chance he gets to play that character. And he wants that film to last forever. And somebody trying to distract you, just to mess with you, just to be a prick, is really a bummer. If you were doing your job and you worked on something for a whole month, and then somebody does something that ruins your work and you have to start all over, you're like, "What are you doing? We're all supposed to be working on the same show here. Everybody
yes,
wants this to be
yes.
good." And somebody who's that deeply involved in the art of what they do, him chewing that guy out, when I knew the full situation, it's like, screw that jerk. You know what?
Yeah.
He was doing it because he wanted to get Christian in trouble, and he knew that Christian was on his last nerve with him, and so he pushed him and pushed him and pushed him until it became something bad. I have to say, knowing Christian and knowing what a nice gentleman he was and how friendly and available and hardworking, I got to give it to him. That guy was a pain, and he
Yeah.
didn't deserve that to be broadcast all over the internet like he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
When somebody, you know how some people are at your work, they're just there just to piss you off, and they don't care.
Oh, yeah.
We all have them, and it happens in movies too.
Mhm.
So when you hear stories like that, I just tell you, give people a grain of salt, because usually when you get to that level, you can't be a jerk and get to that level, because
Yeah.
you have to. They say be careful that the toes you step on now, because they may belong to the ass you'll be kissing in your next show.
Amen. I think John Wayne said something like that,
Yeah, I think
if
it's from
people,
Samuel L. Jackson, but same sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So
So,
yeah, I give those people a lot of credit.
I think that the attitude that people have to have in order to bring out the best in the people that are acting or doing stunts is so important, because if you have an atmosphere where you can manifest the best, like what you were describing, that's going to
Yeah,
give them the result that they want. If they put you in a hazardous situation and they have a bad attitude, it's going to
yeah.
be a flop. So
And
that's
you
something
just
that
have
we
to
all need.
feel,
That's something to take home.
you have to feel
If you
safe doing your best work. I had a director one time. She said, "You completely own this character. I'm not going to tell you to do your lines anymore. You say whatever you want to say."
do
And
your thing, brother.
I just remember thinking, that is a freedom that nobody gives to you. And
Mhm.
I had the best time. I just completely dove into that character with all the gusto in the world because she said, you can't overdo it. The guy was a major a-hole, and I am an a-hole in my own way. And I enjoy being that guy.
Well, we all got teeth, Bill.
And when somebody gives you the right to be at the biggest a-hole you can be and really enjoy the process and make it fun, oh, it's just all the fun you can have with your pants on.
Now you're enticing Blaine. I see the grizzly bear coming out in Blaine.
It's like, oh, you gave me freedom? Uh-oh, it's on now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
We used to just have cut down sessions with each other just for fun. So, oh, yeah.
I remember that. I remember that.
Why isn't Gwen saying anything? Gwen, are you being held captive? Blink 3 times.
Yeah, we've got a gun on her and 2 dogs.
You got your dog. One word out of you and the dog gets it.
No, I'm just honestly just enjoying it. And this is what I do. So, yeah.
I talk too much and I talk too fast. So please.
But I will say one thing. When we go to Deep South, you come and visit us.
Absolutely. We want to come hang with you, man. You're fun. Let me show you. Hold on. So if you're enjoying the show, you can meet Bill in person at the Deep South Para-Comic-Con.
Yep.
That's going to be September. What is it? The 14th?
Yes.
Okay. From 11 to, what does that say? 11, what?
11 to 7.
I can't read it.
11 to
Thank
7.
you. I'm trying. I just couldn't read. I got glasses on. Still can't see.
I know because Teresa told me earlier today, so that's how I remembered it.
Oh, well, good. So let me show you. Let me show you how big this is going to be. I mean, it's a nice size conference hall. It's huge, and you can find anything and everything there. Let me show you.
Yeah. They got horror authors, of which I am actually now a horror author.
Right on.
They've got people who've written books about all the different ghost hunting and paranormal stuff.
That's us. Yep. See, here we are. That's my table.
Yeah, it's going to be. I am so looking for. I mean, I do a lot of different shows, and I always enjoy them. But this one is so out of my wheelhouse. This is ghost hunters and paranormal, and it's also just the South. I have not really had much chance to come down there. And
oh boy!
I'm going to come back weighing about 700 pounds.
Well, I'll tell you this, Bill.
You're going to go back with some sweet tea in your car. That's what you're going to do.
No, we'll tell you this, though.
Sorry, Blaine.
This heat down here ain't California heat. When you come down here, it's going to be hot and humid still in September. So my suggestion is wear comfortable, light-colored clothes.
Yes, and stay hydrated.
It's been 105 here all week, but it's and they say it's a dry heat. That just means that you dehydrate very, very quickly.
All I know is when I was out there, it was still hot. And
so
it didn't matter if it's humidity or not. I still, because I worked flight lines, I stayed out there and sweated.
Yeah, he's
day.
Air Force. Blaine's Air Force, and he knows how to acclimate his body to the weather around him. He was trained for that, so he knows what he's talking about.
More like going into it without training.
I have family out there. Where
you do
in California. It's going to probably take me a while to acclimate since I've never been out there.
Yeah, I love it out there, but it is different.
We say we have 2 seasons in California. We have summer and fire. And they
don't forget your mudslide season. You got that too.
And we had an earthquake yesterday about this time.
That's what my friends in Lancaster said. Yeah, we had a mild one.
Yeah, we got about 3 seconds before they gave us this alert that said, "Hey, you're about to have an earthquake." First time anybody alerted us before it happened.
Oh wow!
And it's funny because we laugh about this in California. If it rains 1/10 of an inch, we crash our cars into one another.
They lose their ever-loving mind.
Absolute carnage. End of the world. We get a 7.0 earthquake. We don't even get out of bed for anything over 7.
Bill, the first one I ever felt, we were at the World Series game in Oakland when it hit. We didn't even know what was going on. It's the first time I've ever been in an earthquake. I was like, what
the hell? Your cage.
Oh,
yeah, you don't know how long it's going to be.
Building. I'm thinking this thing's just to collapse all on top of us. We're all dead. And then
it's like your first sexual experience. You don't know how long it's going to last or how good it's going to be. You just know that you're in trouble. Yeah.
He's so crazy.
I'm going to behave myself.
Well, what's funny though is we ended up staying in the stadium for about 7 hours because they stopped the game.
Yeah.
They just completely stopped it. But you could not get out because there was like
That was a
San
scary
Francisco
one.
was just
Yeah.
like Oakland
There was
was
real
just
damage
rough.
done around town there, so that's
Oh.
really quite scary stuff. I joke about them, but I've probably lived through probably 15, 20 earthquakes out here. A couple of them that were bad enough to do some real damage and hurt some people. But for the most part, they're kind of an inconvenience for most folks,
Yeah.
unless they really do any damage. Whereas you go to Texas, and I got friends who live down in Texas, they get flooded every year. And they devastate people in there, and they're like, we're going to rebuild. I'm like, you know what you need is a U-Haul, because
Yeah, no doubt.
a floodplain. Move. Find
Well, the
some
only
high
problem is
ground.
most
What
of them
are you
have,
gonna do?
those pieces of property have been in their family for so long they don't know how, they don't want to get rid of it. And I know when I was out there when Norfolk hit, was it Norwalk? The
Yes,
big one, that one. I was just sitting in my house and I was like, all I'll do is want to go to sleep, and I couldn't go to sleep. I was like, I'll just sit here.
I went rappelling the very same day as the Whittier
Nice.
quake. My friends are like, you're going to go where there's falling rocks? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's over. Nothing's going to happen today. The big one happened. And you just really get to be so used to it that it's
Yeah,
sad. It's like people who don't worry about tornadoes.
Yeah, I just
Like,
drove out to the base and went to work.
Are you scared?
So,
I was military. We had to show up.
there's a comment from one of our viewers. So George
Yeah.
DaCosta, my sweet friend, he says, Bill, have you had any type of effect? So he's looking for like a supernatural feeling, maybe with seeing or feeling anything weird because of the parts that you've played in the past. So while you were embodying a character, did something happen? Did you feel something?
Bad. Nothing bad. I once did a show. It's the story of Anne Frank, the Diary of Anne Frank, and we would do that show about 3 nights a week. And it's a very, very sad story, obviously, from the Holocaust. And I just remember that when the show was over, it was so devastating because we really became like a family. And I really found the people that I was with in that show, we bonded like real family. In fact, it's been 10 years now, and we still send each other birthday cards and things like that. But most of the time, I have to be honest, it was really very positive stuff.
Right on.
I did a lot of comedies. I did some horror films, but for the most part, making a horror film is like watching paint dry. It's a very slow, very tedious process. You get there at 6 a.m. You may not film until 4 p.m. So you've been waiting around for 10 hours. Because everything is multiple shots. It's a lot of very exacting work. Like when you're working with Robert Englund, he's Freddy Krueger. He's got to have that makeup on all day long. That takes sometimes 3-4 hours.
I can imagine.
He's just sitting in a makeup chair, and so you're waiting for him. And then when he finally is ready, you want to shoot because you want to get him out of that makeup as soon as you can, because it's uncomfortable and it's hard to work with. And every time he does a scene, maybe there's a little tear in the mask because he had to make a big facial expression and it's unglued here or there. So most of the work is done very, very quickly, but you wait forever to get to work. And so most of the time, when we're doing these things, mostly I've got hilarious, a few body off-color stories, but it's most of the time, it's very funny because when you're working on these things, it's pretty gnarly, it's pretty gross stuff. There's I'm doing a show this weekend with a gal named Brooke Thies who was in Nightmare 4, and she turns into a cockroach.
Oh, Lord.
That still grosses me out. I can't watch it.
Nasty.
And I just have to put my hands over my eyes because watching it in real time in the movie, it's very real, very disgusting. I have serious problems with bugs. And so I can't watch that. Now, you watch the making of and you realize this took 4 days to do. And so it's not so bad. But I watched the making of it today and I wanted to throw up again. It's so nasty. It's so hard to watch, but it's a great movie and it's good, scary fun. But when you're making all these things, it's normally, like say, a slow process where you have to be very patient. And when you are called upon to work, you got to be ready because you've been sitting around for 10 hours. Hey, it's your turn. be ready in an instant. So as a stunt person, you're trying to stay loose all day long, just in case they get to you. You know, sometimes they'll say, "Hey, we're not going to get to you till noon," and then an hour later, like, "Hey, it's your turn." It's like, it's 9. And they're like, "Yeah, well, we decided to shoot something out of sequence. It's your turn now."
Yep.
Geez, I wish you'd have told me. I would have gotten warmed up, you know, for whatever athletic endeavor you got to do. So you stay, if you're smart, you stay loose all day.
So I've got a secret to tell you. My
Everybody
dad,
else do this.
my dad was he was a stuntman. He wrestled alligators for Tarzan movies and worked with
Oh,
animals.
goodness.
Yeah, he was a herpetologist and mammologist. He lived in Greenwood and South Carolina.
Now,
And
the
I'll
etymology
show
is the
you.
bug thing. Is that working with bugs?
He worked mostly with rattlesnakes, alligators. I worked with spiders.
Oh, no,
Yeah, I did
no,
some things with
no.
spiders. Yeah, it's kind of
Mhm.
scary.
My first question when somebody told me I was coming to Ozark, they said, "You're going to eat stuff down here you've never seen before." And I said, "No bugs. I got one rule. If it has more than 4 legs, Bill ain't eating it. I'll be polite, I'll be kind, but my limit is 4 or less.
Bill,
more
we
than
won't
4
make you eat
legs, I
nothing
ain't
that
eating
ain't
it.
good.
Not on purpose."
No,
You
we're
know,
not
and,
gonna we're not gonna give you food that's bad. Believe me, I'm gonna give you good food.
all right,
You
just
remember the
don't.
place well.
I know there are plenty of cultures in the world where, you know, bugs are protein.
Mm-mm.
This isn't one of them.
Nope.
No,
Wouldn't do it.
no.
Well,
No,
we've
Bill,
got
I'll
other protein. We don't
Bill, I'll
need all
tell you,
that.
my favorite
Now
cockroach.
that I think about it, I don't want anybody on 2 legs either. That means I'm eating people. I'm
Yeah.
not good with it.
Now, Bill, I'll tell you my cockroach story. When I was in basic training, we were standing in line one day to go to the chow hall. And since I'm tall and my last name starts with R, I'm toward the back of the line. I see this about 3-inch cockroach run, take off, start flying. I had never seen a cockroach fly in my life.
Oh, no.
And when in Alabama, you open the turn on the light, and you see them scatter across the floor. I'd never seen one fly. And under my breath, I was like, "What the F is that?" And our drill instructor's way up in the front. He heard me goes, "Which one of you scurvy motherfucker said something?" I said, "Sir, permission to speak freely." I said, "When did freaking cockroaches start flying? I've never seen one fly in my life." It cracked him up.
Woo!
He literally had to turn around where the whole squadron couldn't see him laughing because he busted out laughing. But I had never seen one fly till then.
I cry like a little girl. I hate to say it. It's
Yeah,
that is a weakness. There's so many. I mean, snakes never bothered me. We got all sorts. We got bears in my neighborhood, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
Just outside of Los Angeles, we got places. We got bears, coyotes, skunks, all sorts of good stuff.
Oh my God.
None of those things scare me. But you give me something with any more than 4 legs, and I squeal and I cry.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Okay, here's Daddy. Here's a picture.
Aw.
Okay.
He's
Now,
not
he's
the
not
one
gonna
in the
eat that.
front. He's the good-looking one in the back area. Here he is. That was
Well,
Ollie, our alligator. He was so sweet.
That's
I'm,
how I
I'm
remember him.
I'm all about archery, and where we have our archery club out here, we get 6-footers, rattlesnakes, and we tell people you're not allowed to hunt them, even if they're hunting you. You know, when you're on, our territory, you have to. This is their world. We get bobcats, we get all these things.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to hunt them. But when I was helping somebody retrieve an arrow, and I saw this big stick, which all of a sudden started moving, and a solid 6-footer. I mean, this big around.
Yeah.
And I love them. I mean, I don't want to play with them, but I love them because they eat rats, which I hate more than anything, even more than snakes. So it's like, go ahead, go scurry around and eat all the other things that scare me. Please. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. So how did you get started doing this?
You know, it was one of those things, right place, right time. I wanted to be an actor since I was a little kid. And I started doing plays and theater and anything anybody would let me do. So when I got out of high school, I was a good-looking kid, and I would send my pictures out.
You're still a good-looking kid. What do you mean?
Yeah, not a kid. So I go out to this agent, and he looks at me and he says, "Bill, we're going to do some great work." And I said, "Great." And we both stand up. He goes, "Jiminy Christmas, how short are you?" Like he's reaching down. And I said, "I'm 5'6". And he said, "I can't get you any work." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because all the girls in this industry are going to be 5'8" or more. And you can't be young leading man to a girl that's, 2 inches taller than you. And I thought, well, Tom Cruise, who I auditioned
Hey,
against,
thank you. I was
he's
just
an inch,
thinking.
he's maybe an inch taller than me.
Yeah, he's little.
Stallone is only about 5'8".
Yes.
And what's his name from Back to the Future? He's 2 inches shorter than me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Michael
Fox.
J.
Make
And they
J.
said, yeah, well, but the thing is, you ain't them. And it's very, very hard to force this peg into that hole. And so they said, look, if you could be uglier, that would be great, because you're not going to be young leading man. You're going to be young leading man's best friend, and he can't be as good looking as you are. You got to ugly up or look more plain or look more goofy, be a nerd, whatever. Now, I didn't love that. And so about the time I was getting my union card, a buddy of mine who was a stunt coordinator, a guy named Tony Caesar, who did all of Wes Craven's films, he called me and he said, hey,
That's my dream to be able to do one.
Well, he says, I got this kid, Wes Craven, you wouldn't know it, but he did a lot of television and he did Disney stuff. Yeah. And there was a Disney show called Casebusters. It was a Disney Thursday night movie of the week. And there's this kid on the show, about 14 years old. He's 5'6", brown hair, brown eyes, weighs about 120 pounds. And I'm a perfect double. And he called me up and he said, hey, you want to do a stunt? And I said, what am I doing? He says, you're going to be in a car. And I said, is the car flipping over? Is it on fire? What are we doing? He said, no, we're just going to be driving around the LA River and we're going to be going from side to side. I said, is that a stunt? He goes, it is if they say it is. He says, it's $1,000 a day. You want to do it? I said,
one.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, after I did the thing, he said, are you much of an athlete? And I said, I used to skateboard in pools and do all that nonsense. BMX, mountain bikes, dirt bikes. My brother was a night black belt, so I trained with him for many years. And he said, oh, this is everything you need to know. He says, you ever done any gymnastics? Can you hit the ground? I said, I have a brother that can throw a kick you can't, that hits harder than most trucks. And if I can take that hit, I can get hit by anything you want. And you're used to doing judo falls, and you're used to hit the ground and roll, no corners. Don't want any corners. You want everything to be round so that you can dissipate all that energy. And so he said, there's a lot of work for a guy like you. And there were no auditions anymore. There were no agents. Somebody called, hey, Bill, can you work on Wednesday? Yeah. All right, we'll see you then.
Nice.
How nice. Oh, my God.
Yeah, if you got to walk into something, that's something nice to walk into. I like that.
And all my buddies were like 5'10", 5'11". And I got my first series within a year. I was working on the Wonder Years, and I was working on
Wonder Years. Oh my gosh.
That show.
The kid Paul with the big nose. The kid with the glasses and the big nose. I was his double. And there weren't not a lot of stunts. In Star Trek there weren't a lot of stunts, but they did have kids, and they wanted to take care of those kids right. So they would make sure the kids were in school every moment they could be. And so they would bring me in and say, hey, look, you're just going to be doing a U-turn in a car, but we'd rather the kids were in school because that's what's good for them. Keep them grounded, keep them, kids. And so people would just call me, and all my big buddies are like, are you shitting me? You got a series? This is your first year. Dude, my first 3 years, I didn't work one time.
Oh, wow.
So I was in a very fortunate place, and I just loved it. All I wanted to be in, and the only thing I wanted to do since I can remember, 6, 7, 8 years old, was I wanted to be in movies. And so, somebody bring me in for the movie Hook. There's the
yeah, I was wondering about that, Blaine. Look who's here for you.
Hi, Luna.
She knows I'm on the. I'm sorry, Bill. She has to photobomb.
I told you my ex-wife was not allowed on the show.
That's Luna, and she looks for Blaine and Gwen and everybody. She loves to photobomb. Honey, when she sees Blaine, it's like, oh my God, Elvis. Oh my God.
Yes.
She'll just stare. It's the cutest thing. I'm sorry. She doesn't know not to interrupt. So I just have to let her.
She sees you as a meal one day. I'm just saying.
What is a common misconception about this?
Here's the Wonder Years.
And all these shows, all my buddies are these big, tall guys. And one of the things you learn about when you do this is most people who get into the Screen Actors Guild, and those are the ones lucky enough to get into the union, only about 5% of them ever work.
Yeah.
ever.
Oh, wow.
So 95% of the union is struggling, scratching to try to make a living somehow, working as a waiter someplace or
Oh yeah, I
filling dog
know.
food.
It was the same way with
Yeah.
me modeling. It was hard.
Excuse
It-
me.
And you
it's
make a
awesome.
nice check, and then you don't know when you're getting another one. You're like, I got money, but how
Well,
long
Yeah.
will I have it? You know, that kind
How
of
long
thing
will it last?
scares you to
Yeah.
death.
Well, it's like my other buddy that lives out there, Michael Champion. He's been in Total Recall. He's been in Toy Soldiers. I always laughed. I said, Mike, do you ever do a role that you don't die in? He says, hell, they pay me to die in every movie. I'm gonna take every check they got. I'm like, dude,
Well, that's it.
he's the
And,
one that got
you
me
may
in the
do
backdraft.
you may do a show now, and you may not work again for a year. You don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what Bill
There's
was.
no
I mean, that's
guarantees.
what
It's
Mike
not like
told
you
me.
go to the union hall and they say, "Hey, we're looking for something." What happens is, as a stunt person, you go out, you do what we call hustling.
Yeah.
And hustling means it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you know that they're filming over off the freeway. So you wake up in the middle of the night, you grab your pictures and your resumes, you haul butt over there, you find the stunt coordinator, you sneak on set, and you say, "Hey, I'm Bill Perry, and do you have anything going on where you need a little guy?" And he says, "Oh, I'll keep you in mind," and you leave. And maybe he calls you, probably not.
Yeah.
And then I was working at least a couple of times a month, which was head and shoulders over anybody I knew.
Oh, I bet.
And it was just my niche of being little, being
Mhm.
skinny, being young looking, and having some martial arts background for doing fights, working with some really good stunt people.
Oh,
Like
okay,
my best friend
fights.
and his friends.
Y'all,
they
he
would
said
teach me how to do
fights.
fights. Yeah,
He said he did fights. I want to hear about fights.
fights are fun. The
Who
only
did
problem
you
you
beat
have
up?
with fights, the only problem with fights is that the actors you're working with, they don't necessarily understand that they're not supposed to hit you. If I do this, if I take my fist and I go, now I missed my face by this much.
Yeah.
I did that
Okay.
again from the side. I did this. Now the person selling it is the stunt guy.
They
Yeah.
have
He
to.
doesn't have
Ooh,
to hit
yeah.
you. He doesn't have to, or and should not hit you. However, sometimes an inexperienced actor will think that it's perfectly fine to deck you, and that's not real. That's not true.
Mm-mm.
It should look like it hurt, but the person who establishes how bad or good it looks is me. So every now and then you get into a fight. Like I was working with Jennifer Garner, and she's great at this. She's a really, really talented performer.
She's great at fighting, isn't she?
I mean, she has a great stunt double, but she does enough of it that she's certainly got chops. And I remember she came to me and she said, "Do I get to kick your ass?" And I said, "Yeah." That would be the best day ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
As it turned out, it was not her, but there's a scene where this other actor has to jump off of off the hood of a car and tackle me. And he said to me, "How do we do this?" And I said, "You're going to grab me and you're going to roll over so that you land on top of me." And he said, "What does that do?" I said, "That protects you. You're the big star. I'm just the schmuck."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Aren't you afraid I'm going to hurt you?" I said, "Oh, I'm terrified of that, but that's the job."
Yeah.
And so my job is to protect the actor. And I was playing myself in the role, so I didn't have to protect whether you could see me or not. A lot of times as a stunt person, you have to make sure that they don't really get a good look at your face or your hair or much of it, unless you're a really, really spot on double. You don't want anybody to know it's you. So when you do these things, you recognize that my wife, I came home one day and I was bruised, just like it looked like somebody just beat me with a pipe. And she said to me, "Honey, this isn't right." And I said, "What's the problem?" She said, "You were hurt." And I said, "Well, yeah." And she goes, "That's not right." I said, "Honey, if I was a football player and I came home from a football game and somebody had just absolutely
Creamed you,
me out,
yeah.
we'd say, 'Well, that's football, honey. What did you expect?'"
Yeah.
That's kind of what this is. You don't expect to break a bone. You don't expect to bleed more than necessary, but you do know that this is a rough and tumble kind of game, and that they bring you in to be durable. They bring you, so when you do a stunt, you may have to do that stunt 6 times. And so they want you to land on the ground and roll away from it, but you have to land in the exact same spot, the exact same way.
How
Because
many times did you have to do it?
when we did Nightmare on Elm Street 6, I get thrown through a window. and I land on the ground in front of Freddy's house. Now,
So you're the kid. You're not Freddy.
yeah, and I'm this. It's a
Okay.
very complicated shot where I come through this window and I land on concrete, no pads. I can't even wear pads on my body because the kid's wearing nothing but a t-shirt and skinny jeans. So I do this stunt, and it hurt. It hurt hard because I had to jump off a 7-foot ladder and do a dive roll on concrete.
Oh no! Oh my God!
One of the coldest nights in Los Angeles history too. So that ground is extra cold, extra icy. It's horrible. So I do it about 3 times, and I look over at the stunt coordinator, and he looks at me and he goes, "You all right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Can you do it again?" And I said, "Yeah." So he turns to the director and he said, we're going to do this once more. And he says, "Well, I haven't got the shot I want." He goes, "Well, is that Bill's fault?" He said, "No, it's a complicated shot." He said, "Well, he can do it once more." And he goes, "Well, what if I need him to do it again?" He says, "I'll let you know after we do the next one whether he has another one available. And by the way, they're $500 a piece now."
Nice,
The
smart.
guy was like,
Okay, well
Bill,
that makes sense then. Yeah.
And he looks at me and he said, "But Bill," and then I didn't say a word. The stunt coordinator's the guy in charge, and so he
That was the next question. The stunt coordinator. Okay.
His job to make sure I don't get too beat up. Well, by the 6th one,
Oh, Bill.
now we're at 8, and I can't even land on my shoulder anymore because it's dislocated at least.
Oh,
And
wow.
I am bruised and I am in so much pain, and that I am actually over rotating and landing on my back now just to try to save my shoulder. And I get home again. My wife turns to me and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my God." And I said, "It's all right." And she said, "This is unacceptable." I said, "I made $8,000 tonight." She goes, "We're getting a new couch?"
Yes.
The transition from, "Oh honey, are you okay?" to, "I would get a new couch. I'm getting a new couch," was that fast. It was just an instant.
Oh, yeah.
So you get used to it. You know, there's a certain level of this where you just. My best friend Lee Waddell was. I told you he was the stuntman from Scream. He was also in Jurassic Park: Lost World. And there's a scene where this tyrannosaur grabs him by the leg and just ragdolls him. Just ragdolls him.
Yeah. I remember that.
So he had that scene, and it was I was getting married, and he was my best man, and he came to the wedding, and he's limping, something awful. And I said, "Are you all right?" And he pulls up his pant leg, and it looked like he had been chewed up and spat out by an alligator.
Oh,
And I
damn.
said, "Oh my God, dude!" And he said, "Yeah, I have to run on that leg tomorrow," because he had to fly back to Hawaii the next day. And I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I've got some Novocaine, and I've got some pills, and I'm just gonna." He says, "I'm making $30,000 a month right now."
Oof.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So you're going to turn that job down? No, you're
Hell
not.
no. I go in there broke leg with crafts and everything on.
Exactly. And
Duct
his
tape, super
residuals,
glue. Yeah, give it to me.
yeah,
Bless your
And
heart.
his residuals a year later were more than 3 times that.
Holy moly.
So when you get a job, you do it, kind of no matter what it takes, because that's the job. And you don't know if you're going to work again next month. You don't know if you're going to work again next year. I was very fortunate, as I've said, but a lot of people aren't that fortunate. So you got to make the money when you can. You have to establish that you are durable, you are repeatable, you will do whatever it takes to get the shot right, because that's what's going to get you hired again.
Yes.
A little too candy asked about this, or being a cowboy that doesn't worry
Oh, I
about
see.
it.
Yeah.
Because the other thing, people tell me, "Oh, I'm fearless." It's like, well, what if you get hurt that first time? Now you can't do it again. Now they have to go find somebody else in the moment, which is expensive, time consuming. It means everybody's waiting around until they get the new stunt guy. But you don't want to be that. You want
No.
to be the guy that has removed every level of risk possible so that you're not going to get hurt. It's going to look like it hurts, but you're not going to actually get hurt any more than necessary so that you can do that exact same stunt. Like when I was doing that thing with for Nightmare 6, I had to hit the same exact spot because they're filming from 2 different cameras. So they want to be able to switch back and forth when they're editing between the first shot, the second shot, and the 8th shot. So I have to do it exactly perfect every time. And that's what the challenge of it is. It's not can you do it? Can you do it over and over perfectly every single time?
Bill, I'm sorry for all the monkey motions I'm making. My dog is eating my pocketbook. Luna, stop it. Stop.
Well, you should not keep your money in bacon.
There you go.
From now on, put it in something a little, put it in something aluminum.
Well, she's decided she wants to chew on my pocketbook handle. I don't think she can tear it up, but I didn't know what she had. Y'all, you just don't know. Being a fur mama is not easy.
And she's a diva too. She is a diva.
Yes, she is a diva. Luna and Ginger.
Yep.
Yes, I'll have the puppy stroller there. Yes, I will.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, everybody's wanting to know about Freddy and Jason. Are there going to be any more movies? What do you think?
There is talk of rebooting Freddy. They did reboot Freddy about 6-8 years ago, but it was not well received.
Oh, really?
Well, they did a remake, but they did a remake of a movie you don't need to do a remake of. If you had perfected it, like Nightmare 1 was the one they did a reboot of. And the thing was, the actor was fine, the cast was fine, but what were you going to do that was going to make this better? Add more CGI?
Yeah.
Really? That isn't going to do anything.
Yeah, that was with the kid Kelly Leak that played Bad News Bears.
Yeah, from Bad News Bears. I know, isn't that funny? And he wasn't bad. He was good, but the thing was, people said, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" If you did a remake of Frankenstein, and they're always doing a remake of Frankenstein. When they did it with Robert De Niro as the creature, okay, you are putting a real actor in a real role. That's great. They've done a million Batman movies. They've done a million, whatever. But they do something different with it that makes it interesting and fun. They weren't doing anything new and particularly interesting with that. They got a new actor, and people are like, he's no Robert Englund. Well, that's a terrible shame. It's a terrible thing to try to walk into a role that is so owned wholly and entirely by somebody else. So he took on a lot more. He bit off a lot more than any human could chew. They talk about Kevin Bacon being the new Freddy. Robert Englund thinks he could do it, and he could. But what's the point? One of the things that Wes hated about making horror movies was that after the first one, it becomes an exercise in some new and interesting way to cut up a teenager.
Yeah.
When he did Scream, he said, finally, somebody has come up with a script that takes all of the horrible cliches, all the tired tropes, and stood them on their ear and said, you don't know what's going to happen. Because the people that the story is revolving around are self-aware. They know what happens in scary movies, and they're going to prevent that killer from getting them by using the rules against them.
Yeah.
Wes loved that because it said that this isn't going to be the same old movie. It's going to be scary, but it's still going to be funny.
Yeah.
And it's going to be shocking and disturbing and all the good things that a good horror movie is.
Wow.
It's not going to play out all the old cliches. It's going to turn them upside down.
That's
why Wes loved that series.
That's what made it so good for me. It was like, this is perfect how he's doing this.
Yeah, I've done a lot of research on Wes Craven, just in general, because, I'm that girl. I just am. And he chose the red and green because there was some scientific study about what was it? Something about, there was a scientific American article that talked about the color combination of red and green on the human eye, and that it makes you just feeling disturbed. And I was like, gosh, what about Christmas? But it's true.
Santa's always kind of gotten me. But the other thing was, if you put Freddy a quarter mile away in the back of frame, you could still see it.
Yeah.
It's instantly identifiable. And in fact, in Scream, there's a scene where Principal Himry, who was played by Henry Winkler, goes out and there's a janitor mopping in the hallway, and it's Wes, and he's wearing a Freddy sweater.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
And he's even called Freddy in the little.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, you see it, you can't miss it once you've seen it. But he knew that character, he wanted to be able to have him sort of shapeshift, but he wanted to be able to make you understand that he was there. And so in any of the sequels, particularly, they use it where there's a nurse walks by, but she happens to be wearing a sweater that's blue or red and green, and you're like, wait a minute, that's Freddy. Hey, and it's one of those things like, I saw it, I saw it. So it sets up a very easy jump scare for one, and it also gives you that foreboding that something bad's about to happen.
Yeah.
And it can drag it out forever and make you sweat like a pig because you're just terrified because it's coming.
What great Easter eggs.
And
Yes.
Wes had told me the story of creating Freddy was he grew up in Ohio, and there was a time he was up in his window and he looks out and he sees this very scary looking man in a fedora. And he looked down at the guy and the guy looked up at him and caught his eye and would not look away. And Wes said he was scared out of his mind. So he just got away from the window and he goes back an hour later and he looks out the window and the same man is standing there and he's still staring up. And he saw him look down. And he said it stuck with him that one day he was going to get a chance to make a scary movie, and that was going to be part of that character.
The drunk guy with the hat. Yeah, he had a bully too that was messing with him. The other inspiration was a family that escaped the Cambodian killing fields.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then there's also a whole group of people that died in their sleep. They were having bad dreams and they died in their sleep. So he took all that and smashed it together and made something incredible.
The crazy
really.
thing is, Wes always wanted to be a movie director, but he was a humanities professor. And the deal about that's good is he really studied the way human beings respond to scary things. Mm-hmm. And when you would watch Wes make a movie, this is one of my favorite things about Wes, you'd watch him make a movie and he would sit there with this evil grin on his face because it was like somebody, a little kid playing with evil G.I. Joes. He had all these actors and let's put him here, let's put him there. And then they had sets and he had music and he had special effects. And he would play with these ideas that had been running around his head forever. And then he had actual human beings who would play those things out for his amusement.
Nice.
And then he would make these movies and people would pay him a crap load of money to make them do what he knew he could make them do in order to make a scary scene. And when he sent me the script for Scream, I said, you will never get this made. And he smiled. He goes, why? And I said, it is incredibly gory. It is horrendously scary. It's going to be X-rated. Nobody's going to give you an R. This is too scary. And he said, when I do it, it's going to be funny. I said, this is the least funny thing I think I've ever read.
Wow.
And he said, you'll see, the way I cast it, you're going to have a good time. And damned if he wasn't right. That movie was funny and scary and gruesome and everything, but it's entertaining, Watching him work with, he was working with Drew Barrymore, and Drew's a very much of an animal rights, activist and protector. And so he said to her, I need you what's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you? And she said, I read a story one time about these two boys that lit a dog on fire. Just for the sake of doing it, just to watch it suffer.
Hell no.
And even in talking about it, she starts to cry.
Oh.
And Wes turned to her and he said, am I allowed to use that?
Wow.
And she said, yeah. Okay. So when they're making the movie, he needs her to be so frightened. He needs her to be so
compartmentalized, remember that emotion and portray it. That's incredible.
So he turns to her and she's getting ready to do the scene and he says, can you smell the gas? And she starts crying. He said, we're lighting the match, Joe. We're lighting the match. And the dog is crying. And she, of course, just loses it because that's the worst thing in her world, that she can imagine. But that's the way he prepared her. And she was brave enough and artistic enough that she allowed him to use that.
That's a real acting. That's a technique that's incredible. Oh my God.
As an actor, when somebody gives you something that affects you that viscerally, that you're instantly there. That's a great director and a great actor.
Oh, yeah.
A very brave thing to do because he doesn't want to traumatize her for real, but he needs that real performance in order to make that film work. And so she was very, brave and very kind to allow him to use that, because he knew it was going to get her where she needed to be in order to make that scene work. And the thing about it is, my buddy that was the actor in The Mask, he had to work with that as well. And he said that when he was working with Drew, he needed to be there too, and so he did everything he could to be as menacing and frightening to her as he could be without, truly traumatizing her, but for those moments. And the fun part about it is Drew is such a game camper. There's behind the scenes video where you see her running from him and he stabs her and she's screaming and she hits the ground and she falls. Well, she falls onto a little high jump pit. And then you see her jump up and do a dismount. Like she's just did a dismount from the uneven bars.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And so she could just turn it off. She could do the scary moment and then immediately turn it off and go back to being Drew, who was just lovely and sweet and generous and, so sensitive. But she could jump in and she could jump right back out, fortunately. So it didn't really, negatively affect her long term. She said that, it scared her at the time, but she was able to leave it at home, leave it at the office, as it were, and go home and not, and come back the next day and be okay with it. But I know that when I saw that movie and I thought, they're not going to kill Drew Barrymore. I mean, she's the biggest name in the show, so knowing that you could kill off the marquee name in that film says that Wes knew he had you and he was going to twist and he was going to play with you and he was going to
emotionally, yes, absolutely,
scare you and he was going to surprise you, and you don't know what's coming. Don't think you know for 1 second how this is going to go.
See, I love
that
because you're not thinking like the star's going to get killed off. They get killed off right toward the beginning of the movie. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So to play with your assumptions. In fact, when Wes did, he did 2 and 3, and he told me, I'm not doing 4. God is my witness. I'm not going to do 4. And then he started doing 4. And I said, so what's up? And he said, there's another project I want to do with Meryl Streep, and they won't let me do it if I don't do Scream 4.
Oh, blackmailed him.
Yeah, of course he wants. Who doesn't want to work with Meryl Streep? So,
yeah.
So he said, yeah, I didn't want to do it, but, you got to do what you got to do sometimes professionally.
Yes.
But he wanted to be known not just as a horror film director, but as a film director.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
I said, Wes, you've got this legend status. What are you worried about? He said, yeah, but everybody says horror movies. He goes, I want to be known for movies, not just horror films. And I get it. There's this idea that doing horror movies was for, up and coming directors, not for real directors. And so he carried that around with him quite a bit. He really wanted to do more in different things. Just before he passed, he'd done a book that he wrote, and he really wanted people to like that book, and he wanted to make it into a big sci-fi movie. And he did Music of the Heart and some other things because he didn't want to just be that one-note Johnny that just did horror films. But in the end, I think he really found that, you know what, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
I've got a gift for scaring people, and lean into it. Why? If you're a gymnast, be a gymnast. You don't have to be an actor too. Do the thing you do well, and own it. And I think his legacy is eternal. Nobody's when people think about the kings of horror. You got your John Carpenter, you got your Wes Craven, you got your Stephen King, and nobody else. He owns that territory. So the fact that I got to work with him a few times and then actually got to work with him as more as a coworker kind of thing for me was another one of those things where a blessing from beyond. I mean, more luck than any human being deserves. That I got to be a friend of his. Just one of those things where now when I talk to folks like you and people go, "Why are you so damn lucky?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I did. Maybe I was just willing.
Are you still filming?
I just wrote a book. Well, actually, I've written 2 books, and I have had people tell me this is going to. In fact, to the guy that directed Night of the Demons, I just happened to meet him at a dinner party not where any other movie people were. He just happened to be there, a friend of a friend. And I told him about By His Hand, and he said, "Ooh, that'd make a good low-budget movie." I said, "Damn straight it would." And he's like, "Have you written a screenplay?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Really? Is it good?" And I told him, you send these things out to people who are paid to read it. And they gave me an 8 out of 10, which is they call a must consider, which means if you're a director or producer, you should be looking at this. It's new, it's original, it's different, it's scary, it's disturbing as F. And
Nice.
you should be making this. And so I've had some people talk to me about it. He told me the formula that he uses to get the money together. So I really, my wife said to me, "You're going to make a movie, aren't you?" And I said, "Do you think so?" She said, "I know you well enough to know, we've been together 24 years. She said, I know you well enough to know that if you want it, hell or high water, get out of the way."
Exactly, man. That's the way it's got to be.
Awesome.
And I think it's good enough. The people that have read it and the reviews that I've seen have said it's unique and it's original. And that's the highest compliment anymore. I have seen so many reboots, rehashes, prequels, sequels. I'm sick of them. I want somebody to make something new. And so when I wrote this, I didn't want an ending anybody would see coming. People who've read it said, "I thought you were funny. You're disturbed, man. You need help." And I'm like, "It really bugged you, didn't it?" And I'm like, "Why does that make you happy? Why are you so happy?"
Oh yeah.
To me, it's like all the trauma you can have for $6.
Yeah.
$2 cheap.
Oh, Bill, we would get along so well because I could come up with some ideas that would make people in insane asylums go, "What the hell?"
Well, my wife
Yes,
is
you
a
could.
my wife is a therapist.
It's really good.
I gave the first few chapters of my wife to my wife, and she said, "I don't want to hear anything about this ever again." And I said, "Really?" She said, "This is so disturbing. I don't want to hear anything about it." So my son read it, and he said, "I don't want to be the last person you talk to before the police get to my door." He said, "What is wrong with you? Why do you write about this stuff?" And I said, it started as a nightmare that was the worst thing I could possibly imagine. And if you read it, I'll send you guys all copies if you like.
Yes, please.
But it's something that is so, if you're a parent particularly, this messes with you. Because the story basically involves the very worst things that could possibly happen to people I care about the most in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very emotional, very disturbing. And so when I was writing it, I decided just to let my freak go.
I love it.
Let my mind go where it goes.
Beautiful.
Like, "You are a dark sumbitch."
I am.
They said, "Most of the time you have the funniest jokes and the funniest stories. There is not one thing in this book that is even remotely funny." And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "So what happened? Caused all that?"
Oh yeah.
And I said, "I'm not telling you that." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I don't want to ruin it. I can see on your face that this very much effed you up, and I love that."
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait to read it and see it. Oh my
I'm so
God.
excited. Please let me know. Have you got your publisher?
There's an audio book of it as well, which I read audiobooks just as a sort of
Love audiobooks.
Yeah.
And I got to read it, and I had to read it 4 times because I could not get through it. It was so. I had to change all the names to be not my family, because when it was my family, it was much more visceral, and it was much more affecting. And there's a scene that took me 3 days to write because I just kept crying. It was so hard to imagine this horrible thing. And so when I go through it now and somebody says, "I was reading it and I got to that one scene," and you'll know what I mean when you read it, and they said, "I stopped reading for 3 days.
Oh my God.
Just could not imagine it. I didn't want to imagine it." So my producer or my publisher comes to me and says, "Where's book 2?" I said, "Dude, I don't want to go to this place again."
Now, Bill, if you can stand a Southern accent, I'll be the bastard that reads it for you, because I ain't scared of nothing.
This is one of the funnier parts. I'm writing the second book, and this one girl that's I know from Australia says to me, "I'm a little disappointed." And I'm a little disappointed. And I said, "Why are you disappointed?" And she said, "I'm not in it."
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And I thought about it, and there was a character that was a little too nondescript. She wasn't very vivid. And so I thought, that's it. And so I drew this character as her. And I sent it back
Okay.
to her. And she goes, oh my God, I'm Michelle. I said, yes, you are. And she goes, you did me wrong. You did me horrible. You did terrible things to me. And I said, you wanted to be in it. And she's like, you're right, I did want to be in it. She goes, is it going to be a movie? I want Nicole Kidman to play me. Yeah, and so it's kind of funny to be the creator of something where I could actually make it you. Why not?
Yeah,
make
really.
it
That's
person.
cool.
That's my
Yeah, like I
prerogative.
said, if you need a deranged bastard with a southern accent, I'll be happy to do the book for you.
The only
That's
people
funny.
the only deranged people I know have southern accents. That's just the way it's.
And dude, I could do it so well too because I can lose my southern accent when I need to.
Well, it's funny. I have a real problem with picking up accents when I go places.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was just in England for 2 weeks. Well, I came back and I was talking to this girl the other day, and she says, "Are you from England?" I said, "Oh God, am I doing that?"
Yep.
She said, "Wow, you sure do pick it up quick." And
You
when I
have
was in New York, people said, "How long have you lived in New York?" I said, "I've never lived in New York." And they said, "You talk too fast for a Californian." I said, "Yeah, my mom's from New York, so I kind of pick up."
You're an actor, you know?
Yeah, that's what we do.
I would
And
hope you could do those accents, Bill.
You're supposed to. In the audiobooks, I had a 7-book series I had to do, and I had 35 different voices from all over the world. And I had to do Scottish, and I had to do women's voices, and I had to do all these different things. And so you get used to it after a while, just sort of absorbing it. But doing my own book was difficult because I know these people, and they're real, and I care about them. And so when my friends would read it, they're like, "Dude, I thought you liked me." I'm like, just understand this: that if I didn't truly care about you, I wouldn't have killed you.
No, dude, I'd have been like so honored, like, dude, you're so awesome.
Well, when one of the friends called me, he was like, "Am I Emerson?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wow, dude." And I said, I'm sort of sorry, but then again, I'm not, because
I'm not sorry.
if it
Not sorry.
bothered you, it means I painted a very clear picture.
Well, let me
Yeah.
show these pictures
And
real
it's
quick.
something
I
that-
think everybody's going to love them, Bill. You ready?
Yep.
I'm stalking you.
Hey.
Hold on. Boom.
Yeah, there I am.
Yes.
So that's
You
Nightmare.
look amazing. Look at you.
That's Nightmare 4 in the upper right. That's actually Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, but it's the same kid that I doubled in Nightmare 3. And the pictures on the opposite corners are from Return of the Living Dead Part 2, when I was doubling the kid, and then when I was just what we call a utility zombie. Because,
A utility zombie.
a utility zombie, meaning I didn't have a character name per se, but I am zombie number 71 or whatever.
Nice.
But
I have loved these characters. I mean, it's
What-
intense that you are these guys.
when you get to be a
Thank you.
zombie, the makeup
Yes,
is
thank
so
you.
much fun. The makeup is fun. I loved sitting in the chair. I loved getting up and recognizing that I get to be this thing.
I would love it. Oh my God. What a life, brother.
I remember we were doing Hook, and we're up in the rafters of this scene, and we're about to swing on ropes and attack a full-size pirate ship, Hook's pirate ship. And he goes, "Can you believe they are paying us for this?" I said,
Really?
"Can you believe it? I did
How
that
much
for
fun."
free." Yeah, you're 60 feet up. Now that's a little scary. And you're swinging on this rope, and you're going to grab onto the ropes, and attack, and you've got a sword, and you're going to go into a fight. But this is everything you did when you were 10 years old. You just
Yeah.
didn't have a real ship.
That's
You
true.
know? It's all the fun stuff that you wanted to do when you were a little kid. You just get to be old enough to be strong enough and durable enough and have all the fun stuff. And then
That's
somebody's going to pay you? Are you
That's
out of your
badass.
mind? What more
That
fun
is-
can you
Yes.
have?
Okay, here's another one. Here's another one.
Okay. Yeah, there's Will.
There you
Wheaton.
are with Wheaton.
Now the
That's
notice he's
intense. You
about-
could be his brother, no doubt.
You notice he's about an inch taller than me. One
Yeah.
year later, he's
Yeah.
five more inches taller.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
nasty. What is wrong with you? Stay away from milk. Can't you smoke?
Yes.
Do anything that will avoid growing. I need this gig,
Yeah,
And he
I
was
love seeing you in makeup.
super nice kid, and that was a fun show to watch.
I bet here's my fave. That's Bill flying.
Oh wow.
Lori Petty was in League of Their Own. She was in Point Break. So there's
Yes.
more Star Trek stuff there. So when I was dubbing Lori, her mom couldn't tell the difference between us.
Oh wow.
Oh
Just because with the
wow.
makeup and all that stuff, her mom comes up to me. Her mom comes up and says, "Lori," and I go, "Yeah, mom." And she said, "Oh my God, I thought you were Lori." And I said, "Well, that's the game." And Lori had super short hair at the time. And so none of the women stuntmen or stunt people wanted to be her double because they didn't want to cut their hair just for a couple of days on a TV show. So they were looking for a guy, and I just happened to have the delicate young frame of a 16-year-old girl.
Nice.
Not exactly
Okay,
bragging
so-
rights around with him, but it works for me.
Bill, I got to ask you.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Dangerous Tour with Michael Jackson, 1992.
Oh, all the fun you could have. Michael Jackson, you hear a lot of bad stories, and I don't have any. He was the kindest, most generous human being I think I've ever worked with. And I got to sit at these big concerts. There's 100,000 people at the show, and there's a big steel gate, and behind the gate are big strapping security guards keeping anybody from trying to get over the fence. I would bring a lawn chair and watch from in front of them, and
Wow.
just watch possibly one of the greatest performers the world will ever know do his shtick in front of 100,000 people. And then at a certain point in the show, he would put on a rocket and fly out of the stadium, or so you thought. It was actually a good friend of mine named Kenny. And so the big
Okay.
big end of the show was Michael would strap this rocket on and fly. Well, we would bring this big box out on the stage, and the box had the rocket belt in it, but it also had his stunt double. And so Michael would bend over real quick to pick up the rocket, but instead of standing up, he would climb into the box, and the guy in the box would get out.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
He already had his helmet and his suit on, so it was a David Copperfield actually designed the magic trick.
Oh, that's cool.
So, each night I would go out on stage and I would be part of the magic trick, and I would strap this guy who was Michael's double into the rocket belt, and we would sit there and we would look at clipboards like we were doing something, which we were giving Michael a chance to get out of the box, get into his limo, and be on the way to his hotel room long before the concert ever ended.
Nice.
Nice.
But we traveled from England to Romania over the course of 2 months. I was treated like a rock star. I mean, just as much as like a rock star as you could be. Travel the whole world, stay in the best hotels in Europe, all on somebody else's dime, while
Heck
getting
yeah.
paid $10,000 a month, which was 1980 or 1992.
That's a lot. That's a lot for today. Okay.
All expenses paid for everything. You couldn't spend the money they gave you.
Wow.
Because everybody was paying for all your meals, casinos, nightclubs.
You lived the dream. Okay.
Jumping into the Seine River in France, because why not?
Okay,
Yeah.
so pictures or it didn't happen, right? Here it is.
Oh yeah, that is Jennifer Batten. That's what I used to look like when I had my 80s mullet. That's Jennifer Batten.
That's awesome, man. You look like a rock star there.
You do.
And here we go. This is the stunt he was talking about with the rocket and everything.
Yep. And that's in Romania. If you ever want to, you can see it on YouTube. They have the big closing sequence, and you can see me in all of my mulleted glory.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
We all had one.
It's
Come
okay.
on.
Oh, I had mine. Don't worry. I was a teenager in the 80s. Yeah, I had my mullet till I went in the military. Then I didn't have no mullet no more.
I'm kind of going reverse mohawk now. I guess
Yeah.
on the sides.
Yeah, if you let it grow out, you could sub for was it the clown on The Simpsons?
The clown.
Hey.
What's his
And when my
name?
hair grows,
Yeah.
it's funny. I call it the crusty effect.
Krusty, that's it.
If I don't cut my hair, it grows straight out of my head,
That's funny.
like forever.
Yeah.
You know, so I just got it cut today because I got a show this weekend and I didn't want to look so scraggly. But yeah, it is the absolute bozo the clown effect. I don't have a lot of hair, but it grows straight, it grows long, and it grows directly in opposite directions of wherever I am going. I don't know why.
Well, don't worry about it.
The Lord has his funny ways. He decided that I don't need any hair here, but that little spot right above the crack of my ass, that needs to be woolly as a mammoth. Please explain to me the evolutionary necessity of having hair on my low back, but not on the top of my head where I need it.
Yeah, I never understood that genealogy anyway, how that happens with the
I
chromosomes.
don't understand it. Why does George Clooney get to keep his? He's got everything. I need so little in this world. And you take it all away. What other questions?
So you know what? It just hit me that when you did Elvira movie and you were trying to get her picture, she actually had just changed clothes. It basically a strip tease, and she had gotten in her little. Well, it turned out to be an Elvis pajama set, but you know, in her dream she was on this. She had this flowing chiffon, you know, dress. Here's the movie poster, guys.
And the thing about, I just saw her 2 weeks ago. She was.
Did you?
Saw her at a show in Long Beach, California. She is actually a redhead.
Yeah.
Yes, she is.
I have had a thing for redheads. As my stepdad used to say, did you ever sleep with a redhead? He said, never, not a wink. And and his thing, seeing her, she's a few years older than I am. She is so absolutely beautiful to this day.
She
is gorgeous.
She is so stunning. She is in great shape. She is beautiful. She is funny. She is clever. She is smart. And it just, if you're not in love with her, I don't know what your problem is.
I know.
Thank you.
You got a problem.
She used to be a showgirl in Vegas.
Yes.
And she talked to Elvis, and Elvis told her, you can do anything you want to do. And she took his advice. That's why she had Elvis pajamas on, because she was a big Elvis fan too. So
yes, she was. She dated him.
Yeah.
She was a good buddy of Pee Wee Herman. Worked with.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, and you know, just an innate funny. One of my favorite stories about her. I pulled up to filming, and I tell you, they get you there at like 6 a.m. I was actually there at 5 a.m. And I hear, as I'm pulling up in my car, this loud rock and roll. It's "Welcome to the Jungle" by
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, where the hell is that music coming from at 5 a.m.? And it's Elvira's trailer. The walls are shaking. She's got speakers, 3 foot high.
My girl. She's my girl. That's my spirit animal.
Your spirit animal. And unapologetic, but funny and smart and kind. I use the word kind a lot because to me, kind is the highest.
Goes so far. Yes.
The kindness. Because if you are that, pretty much everything else falls into shape. And she was both, and I say she's beautiful, and I mean that in every respect.
Yeah.
Of course, she was physically pretty, but just one of those people that wanted the best for you and was always smiling. I'm sure she had bad days. She was basically carrying that entire film. There weren't a lot of other people in that film that were as famous as she was. And carrying a film, there's a lot of pressure there. If this isn't good, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And that kind of pressure can really be very, very difficult to handle. But there was never a bad day on set. She never blew up at anybody, no matter what. She created an atmosphere where everybody was laughing, everybody was giggling, and the one-liners that were part of the show, and then the ones that weren't.
My goodness.
Where she would keep the mood light, because if you're filming all night long, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, you're tired. You just and you're wet because you've had sprinklers on you. They're 40-degree water. Everything is miserable except her, and because she's not miserable, she made sure nobody else was. And so that kind of thing is what you value in human beings, where they can take a difficult situation and make sure that you're comfortable and make sure that you're still having a good time because she's having a good time. She just carries you right along with her like a river. You know, if she was having a bad day, I'm sure we all would have, but she never let that happen.
Right.
Awesome.
She's got lots of theater training. I mean, classic theater training. Very smart, and she created this character, Elvira herself.
Yeah.
She said she was inspired by Anne Margaret in Viva Las Vegas. And so she actually, like I said, she went on a date with Elvis. Of course, we've been talking about that. But she also she had a small role as a showgirl in the James Bond film Diamonds Are Forever. And she was a topless dancer in the film Working Girls. So, I mean, she had a lot of things. It's true. But, you know, she was in recently, Rob Zombie did, they redid The Munsters. And his wife is actually, not Morticia, Lily. And Cassandra has a cameo, you know, but she's not a monster. She's actually a person this time, and she's reacting to the monster. But I hear that voice, and it's still Elvira in there, and I'm like, girl, you need to be in all black rocking your thing. I love her.
When I saw her at this convention this week, the line was over 2 hours.
I can believe it. I just went up there and, baby, just give me a hug. That's all I want. Yeah.
You know what? I'm not sure why, but she actually had a big plexiglass thing. I'm not sure if if she was ill or she was afraid other people were. But,
probably,
she couldn't do that, but she was just as kind and friendly and easy to talk to as anybody could be. And, you know, when you're doing these conventions, if you have a line like that, there's a sense that you got to rush through because you don't want to make people wait. But on the other side, it's like, hey, if they've waited an hour to talk to me, I'm not pushing them away.
Yeah.
You know, they paid a lot of money and they've waited quite a long time. This may be the only chance they ever get to meet me. Let's make that special.
Right on.
You know, let's make sure that it's really worth it for them. And I really appreciate that. I don't get long lines to meet me, but I do recognize that those people that do want to meet you, they expect you to be personal with them. And the worst thing in the world is to watch somebody walk away disappointed from meeting a hero. So, or even just a celebrity that they cared about. So I watched her, and she was just as genuine and just as interested with each of gotta be 2,000 people as she could be, because she knows that people were looking forward to this. It's got to be important to you. You know, it's got to be you've got to be as gracious as you can be, no matter how long that day is. Because for them, this is their one and only chance.
Yeah.
And they've been looking forward to this.
When you come to the con, we're going to send people down your way all the time. Hey, go see our buddy Bill down there. You'll like him.
Oh, we're going to be first in line.
No, I'm going to call Teresa and beg to be beside you. I'll get there early, and whoever's beside you, I'm just going to kick them away. Like, get the heck out of here. Bill's ours.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. You know, when I get to do these things, my kids are so tired of my stuntman stories that the idea that someone would actually come up to me interested is
they will. They will.
God bless you. Because for me, I love talking stories. Obviously, I am a storyteller just by nature.
Yeah.
And when I can tell, my favorite thing to do is have somebody come up to me and ask me a question I haven't heard before about some movie, and I can tell them some little tidbit about that favorite film that they could never have known. Because they go home and they watch it again, or it comes on TBS, or it comes on Max, and they watch it again. And they call all their friends, and they go, I talked to that guy. Wait, you're going to see the little wires that pulled that stupid wheelchair after him. Or they also filmed that with they put that wheelchair on the back of an ATV and almost ran him over. And they love telling the story. They love telling the story as much as I do.
Oh, sure.
Because it took a favorite moment from a favorite film, and it's all new again, you know, and it costs me nothing to do that. And I know that now I've given them an extra little level of enjoyment of something that I enjoy, that they enjoy, that everybody, you know, lots of people enjoy, you know, and they come to the cons and they're dressed and they're just letting their freak flag fly. You know,
Well,
they're not
that's me.
embarrassed. No, this is your tribe. Go ahead and have fun. Don't worry about what anybody thinks about it. But worry about that on Monday when you got to go back to work.
Thank
Saturday
you.
and Sunday,
Yeah.
have some fun. Hang out with your friends. Dress up like Captain Kirk, who just got, his head chopped off by a weed thrasher. That's fine. That's funny. Do it your own way. Have some fun. And that's why when I go to the shows, my wife's kind of an introvert, so this isn't her game at all. When I go to these things, she said, you come back and it's like somebody just electrocuted you. You have all the energy in the world. Like you didn't just spend 10 hours talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is my jam.
Yeah.
And
we love it too. It's like when we do the Paracons, it's so much fun for me and Lee and to get to do them because we get to meet cool people like you. And then it's weird because people know who we are.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is pretty cool. They're coming to see us.
I was watching one of the podcasts from, I think it was Stan, and there was a bunch of Ghostbusters. And you see, this guy had just been adopted into, I believe, the Alabama Ghostbusters. He couldn't have been prouder that he had just landed on the moon.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I loved the fact that the thing that struck me about it was he wanted to be part of a community of people that love the same things he loves, and they invited him in.
Yeah,
and
Ben Bracken is such a great person who runs Alabama Ghost Hunters, and he also runs Alabama Abnormal too. I've known Bill.
I used to be terrified that anyone would find out that I used to be in movies. When I would start a new job, I would just try to avoid it like the plague, and then eventually somebody comes by and they're like, "Are you William R. Perry?" And it's like, "Shit." And they're like, "Did I see? Are you that guy on IMDb?" I'm like, "Look, man, it was a long time ago. Please don't tell everybody in the office. I got credibility issues." And they're like, "No, I'm going to tell everybody." And then everybody finds out, and everybody teases me about it. And so I was like, it was off limits. Well, a couple of years ago, my buddy Lee started doing some shows, some conventions, and somebody said to me, "Well, why aren't you doing conventions?" I said, "Who would give a rat's butt about me? I'm nobody. I'm just some stunt guy." And they said, no, these people love these movies. I'm like,
"Yep,
they do?" And I thought, no, I used to think that the reason I didn't want to do horror films was they were never going to be remembered. Well, here we are.
No way. Are you kidding?
Seriously, 40 years later, it's all anybody cares about that I've done.
Yeah.
And I can now stick my chest out and, be proud of myself again. And it's really lovely to have people come up to you and tell you, that was the first scary movie I ever saw with my dad.
Look,
the first R-rated movie I ever saw. And it means so much to me that I get to meet you. And it's like, oh.
Look, I'm just going to tell you now, the horror conferences are just booming.
Yes.
Buckle up, Buttercup. You're getting ready to have some crazy stuff happen, and they're going to need to meet you, man. They're going to need to meet you.
I need to meet you. I'll say it. I need to meet you. Okay.
I'm just going to give you a big old hug.
Yeah.
I have 5 of these.
Hey, people are saying a great Halloween treat early. That's right. We're going to be spooky together.
Nobody. I promise you, I will enjoy it even more than you, because when somebody tells me, that they love this film or that film or that, it reminds me that how lucky I have been as a human being to be able to do the job I wanted to do when I was a little kid. Most people don't get their dream job,
No, they don't.
And when people say, "Oh, I always wanted to be a stuntman," it's my responsibility to share with them what that was like, because they didn't get that chance.
Yeah.
And so I love sharing it with them because I can tell them the downsides, how hard it is to make a living, and how, the chance that you could get hurt and never work again, or all these different things that could go wrong. But I also tell them the fun part, because that's what they want to hear about. And then they get to experience it a little bit, and it makes me feel like $1 million. It makes them feel like $1 million. There's just no downside to it. I have a lot of jobs I've done in my life that suck right out. This ain't one of them.
I'm so happy for you.
There's nothing about this that isn't absolutely joy.
I've got so much I'm going to ask you, but we'll wait till after the show. Guys, we only have like 1 minute. Do you have anything else that you guys need to talk to Bill about other than we're first in line to be able to meet you?
Thank you. Yes.
Yep,
I want to know his ghost story, but that can be in person. So.
All right.
Yeah, you just have to come back, okay?
All story. Yeah. In fact, it's funny. I've done now. This is, I think, my third sort of podcast for this particular show. I don't know if anybody else coming. I mean, I think everybody that's coming has actually interviewed me. I don't think I'm going to have anything.
Oh no, you'll see.
It's going to be.
Yeah, I started teaching workshops. It was supposed to be one for both topics. I taught it 4 times.
Yeah.
Because people were still asking. So buckle up, like I said.
I've got about 45 minutes. I'm doing a thing called What It's Like to Be a Hollywood Stuntman.
Good.
It's going to be about 40 minutes, and it's going to basically tell you how I did what I did, why you might not know what the difficult part about doing stunts is. I touched on it a little bit.
We didn't get to talk about that. We didn't have enough time.
Find out, they're going to be like, that's the difficult part. And it's surprising. I really think that when I've coached people who said, I want to be a stunt person, usually by about the first half hour, they're like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm like, I know, right? Because it's a life. It's not a job. It's your world for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's a terribly bad paying job where people treat you like crap.
I understand. No, I get it.
People in the real world think you're a flake.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to put
it's fine to be a boyfriend, but not your husband. You know? So it's a very different world.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. Well, we're going to put a bookmark in this because we want you to come back, especially before the Paracon. We've got so much we want to ask you. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm not going to end with a blessing tonight because it's been horror movie stuff. So we're going to lean into the horror stuff. Thank you so much for watching Family Spirit International. Mwah!
Mwah!
Mwah! Well, there we go.
Just that easy?
Yep, pretty much.
It's going to play.
With discharges, you guys run. I'll hold it back. I'll shoot at it, hold it back until I'm scared. But if this thing charges, I can defend myself. You guys. This was very late at night. Everybody was asleep. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. That distracted him.
What is this thing? Something from behind me pushed me all the way to the ground.
This is so much fun to watch all these, isn't it?
layers of spiritual activity.